Hi there. Before we start this episode, I do want to give a quick disclaimer slash trigger warning that this episode, or the book rather, The Myth of Sisyphus, does talk about some graphic, explicit content. So if you're not comfortable with that kind of stuff, feel free to skip this episode, or you can listen. And if like feel us heading towards that direction of the topic of suicide, which is the trigger warning, it is suicide. But if you feel us heading towards that direction, then feel free to skip that part, however you want to go about it. Also, I fully admitted that I did mess up for our YouTube viewers, by the way, but I did mess up the visual recording of it, where it only recorded the top left part of my screen, so you'll be seeing mostly Connor, which honestly could be a blessing. Like that it could be a good thing, right? Um, but almost in divine retribution, my mic audio is a little bit messed up, and that's going to affect both, our audio and visual listeners on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. My mic's a little bit echoey, and I forgot to put the mono audio on, so you'll really only be able to hear me from the left ear. Apologies on that, but the content is still amazing despite all those difficulties on my end. So please enjoy.
Hello, welcome to the book club. Today, me and the guys are reading the Myth of Sisyphus, the absurd man, and just like usual, we're excited to talk about this. We're kind of discussing a little bit how it's gonna be really easy to talk about this time. We think because three clear-cut examples. But of course, like always, before we get into it, what's been going on, guys? I know it's been a really long time since the last one because we recorded that last one like a while ago. So
The
I know a
longest
lot
time.
has happened.
So much has happened, man. So much.
Yeah, man.
I went to work 5 days a week this week. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. What is it like to actually, work normally?
I don't know if I would really call my job normal. It's like kind of normal, but like this week is one of those random extraordinary weeks where I'm working like 10 hours a day. So we've been finishing a pretty big project, and that's been cool to be a part of. But luckily, my boy Pierce came in town this weekend. I got to hang out with him. David hung out with me. In fact, this is nobody's gonna understand this, but David, I have to let you know that Pierce finally got that upgrade on Bloons Tower Defense 6, and we got so
Dude,
locked in that I burnt my chili. Like my chili for the
how
week
how
was
late was this?
boiling.
That same night, late into the night, or
No,
did you?
no, he woke up day two still grinding Bloons Tower Defense 6, bro. Like
Bro, that's
Did he
all
crazy.
spend
because I
all your
couldn't.
monkey money?
No, he didn't. He learned his lesson.
Yeah, you
But yeah,
showed him. You
so
sure showed him.
yeah, but it was good to see. It was good to see friends. Pierce is a really old friend of mine, and so I'm glad he visits. Unlike the amount of time that's passed between here and our last book club, a lot happened since the last time I talked to Pierce. So it was really nice to catch up.
That's good. Like I will say though, Seth sucks at calling his friends. Like
Dude,
I'm always having to call this
dude,
guy, man.
don't even right now. Okay.
That
If I went
sucks
back
at
at our
calling his
call
friends.
history, if I went back at our call history, guarantee you 99% of the time this guy is sending it out. Okay. And it might have been to ask you where I'm supposed to pick my suit up, but I still reached out. All right. I'm just lucky that we got a podcast now, so now you feel obligated to hang out with me. You
Yeah,
know?
man. I would
Yeah,
definitely
that's
talk to
true.
this guy if it
It's
was.
a business endeavor now.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
He talks a little bit about it in this chapter, actually, how meaningful human connection is, but getting a little ahead of myself.
yeah, we haven't even
Don't
got
jump the gun, man. Don't jump the gun.
David
I've
Connor.
been pretty good. Yeah, I've been pretty all right. The next evolution within my business is starting. We are starting to construct a actual photo room so that we can start taking more professional photos, and I can start expanding these collection or the selection on the website.
For
That's
the
awesome.
repair shop.
Yeah, for the auto parts
Let's
distributors. Yeah.
go.
So that's gonna be a really exciting endeavor to go on.
What have you been coding your website in?
That's just well, I've been using WordPress, and
Oh, we
WordPress
talked
is
about this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's more of a lot of Lego blocks being put together into one big amalgamation of whatever I'm having. But yeah, so it's
Here,
been pretty well.
here's your challenge. You should see if you can get your website, if you can get the technology to identify the color of the part just from the picture alone and
That would
automatically
be
fill out that field.
crazy good and would save a lot of time, but also to
It
distinguish
takes
the
so
color,
long.
That's some AI stuff.
you have like 7 different types of white, dude. There's pearly white, there's matte white, there's regular white, and then that's for every single color. So
Dude,
it's a bit.
you just have to figure out like how color pickers work, and then just
Yeah,
use that because it gets down to
but
like the
then
hex code, man.
categorize the hex code, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm
It's
sure
definitely
there's
some
like
machine
I'm sure if
learning
you
type.
ask like
There's,
ChatGPT like the code for color pickers or something, like you could get it.
I probably could. I really probably could. They have a whole AI little system within WordPress. I don't use it because I just, whatever. But
Watch previous
Right?
episodes of Book Club to find out why.
Well,
oh yeah,
GPT
yeah.
five is out. Did y'all see that?
I
I
saw. I haven't
did.
paid too much attention to it though.
I haven't used it too much myself, but it's just they increase the number by one, and I'm hyped. I don't even know if it is better or not, but like it's got me excited.
It's just progress.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Connor,
Yeah,
have
Connor, how do you feel about ChatGPT 5?
Dude, I'm
Dude,
curious.
I've not used ChatGPT since ChatGPT 1.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie. And I literally just like, no, the most like I've actually used an AI is the Snapchat AI, and I named it Jesus Christ, and I'd started asking it like existential like questions. And
that
yeah,
was Connor's original book club.
yeah.
That's
Oh
hilarious.
man, with
You're
his
like, yeah,
Snapchat AI.
what do you think about the absurdity of man, huh? But
He is
no,
pure natural.
yeah, I never really got into the whole AI thing. I used it
No,
actually.
I'm just gonna call Connor out real fast. Bro
Uh-oh.
bought a year's worth of ChatGPT and just ended up not using it.
Yeah, I did. No, so I
Really?
Whoa.
when I was in college, there was like I was taking like a mini mester for like Texas government or something like that, like one of them
Mm.
basic requirement classes. And this fucking teacher, man, he took that shit way too seriously. He was like, "Hey, if I'm working over winter break, you guys are gonna be fucking working over winter break." I thought this was gonna be like an easy like 4 week whatever, but I bought like a whole year subscription for ChatGPT to get my ass through it, and I ended up just dropping the class and then deciding to go to trade school.
That's awesome.
So it all worked out in the
What,
end.
what was the class?
That being
U.S.
said,
government, you said?
it was either like Texas government or U.S. government, something like that. It was
It's like
government
See,
something.
that's crazy.
the state
Government
government.
made you drop out and
That's
go
so
to trade school.
funny.
That's hilarious.
No, that's pretty fitting for me actually. I was
Connor's
like, dude,
origin
this
Yeah,
fucking
story.
blows.
Connor loves history, but when it comes to Texas or US, it's
Get it out of
dude,
here.
imagine if it was like
No, don't want it.
economics, bro. Connor would have not. Oh, he would
You'd
have
I
not.
think
fall
that was gonna be
apart.
the next mini master.
No, no.
Yeah,
Uh,
no. Then now I'm just
working.
working a bunch. Yeah, this was one of those. The last few weeks have been one of those weeks where it's just been 7 days a week, 10 hours a day.
Do you ever
Damn.
stop grinding? Like, is there ever a point where you're just
Yeah.
gonna be able to not like you don't have to grind?
It's just really this is our busy season with AC, obviously, because
Yeah.
it's hot, and as soon as that AC goes down, people are calling. So
So if
uh,
like winter time though, would
Dude.
you be like, you just be vibing?
No, well,
apparently, yeah, it's gonna
not
be more like
heating
a
as much.
yeah, because heating is it's kind of like hit or miss, really, because like heating is a lot easier than cooling in a lot of ways.
Okay.
Because cooling, especially with us, we use like package units, so there's like the whole. It's easier than other AC units, I will say, because it's all in one spot. But like with the refrigeration cycle, there's like four major components, and then there's like a whole bunch of other hosted little things that need to work in order for this one thing to work.
Mhm.
With heating, it's like it's a series for safety reasons if you're looking at like a gas furnace. So if like the unit doesn't come on at all, then it's like, oh well, it's the inducer motor because it didn't get past the inducer motor,
Okay,
so
so
on and
it's
so
pretty
forth.
simple.
So yeah, it's a
Pretty
lot
step by
easier,
step.
right?
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's a lot easier, and it might be like a 4-hour job versus to try to like fix a heating circuit where it might be an 8-hour job for an AC circuit. So that's like the difference there.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just there's 10 of us techs in Texas or in Houston, so it's like, and then we got big companies like I did a job for Dior yesterday. And like we also have like Nike and Skechers and like
Interesting.
massive
Awesome.
companies.
Sounds like
and there's
almost
some
like a bank or something, man.
I was gonna say, I feel like Houston's a great place to be if you are in the HVAC business, but not if you're working for the HVAC business.
Yeah.
Connor's gonna
That's
enjoy
true.
all 2 months of the slow season.
He's
You
got
know,
If
all
that.
he's
2
part of
months.
capitalism, man. He's part of
Well,
the trap.
and our slow season's gonna be me working 40 hours a week versus 60.
Yeah, just normal.
Like a
amount
of
normal work
jobs.
schedule, yeah.
And I'll have to pull on call every 8 weeks instead of every 4. So
Oh, cool. So only 2 on-call spells for the whole chill season.
yeah.
Chill season.
I've been wanting
That's
to
what you
say
call it.
too. I keep on like thinking about this, but I keep on forgetting to mention it. I love that tattoo on your arm.
Oh,
The
which
Spirited
one?
Away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Wait, no.
I need to. Do I need to
Is it
watch that
Spirited
movie?
Away? That's Spirited
No,
Away.
this is Mononoke.
Oh yes, you're
The
right.
Spirited
You're right.
Away
You're right.
are
You're
the
right.
Minus anime
those are
cred
the charcoal
for
guys.
Howie.
That was bad, huh?
Those are the little charcoal guys.
Yeah.
That was the
What is
little
this?
creature.
Yeah.
Just
There's also
my
the
two.
faceless.
Oh yeah, no face. Yeah, I want to. This
No
whole
face.
arm is Studio Ghibli though. Like I got, oh well, minus 0. But I got Calcifer, and I got the guy from Castle in the Sky.
I still
Yeah.
haven't seen Castle in the Sky. That's on my list.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
They made 2 about castles.
Oh, they got a
Yeah,
lot about
dude,
castles.
Castles are really good. Let me tell you.
Okay.
Real fast, I did want to talk about what I expected and then what I got.
Ooh,
Okay. Good little intro.
So before reading, I thought it was going to play more into the whole revolt, freedom, passion aspect, and it did in a really crazy way because I thought it'd be a little bit more stoic,
Mhm.
and then I hit with Don Juan.
Yeah,
Dude,
he
it's
opened
crazy
up the
that that's
gate.
the first one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Started with
It
Don
is
Juan.
crazy.
hit me with Don Juan, and I was like, okay, so
Did
where
you
are we
know
going
who
with this
Don
one?
Juan was before like you read this?
I did not. I ended up looking more into it, and I was like, okay, so quote unquote ultimate seductor. That's crazy to start off with for this
That
whole
is crazy.
absurdism, but let's see what you got.
But I do like how he did start off by saying too as well, like these are not like he's not telling you that this is how you should live. It's
Mhm.
just like
Even
hyperbolic
he prefaced it. He prefaced it at the end. He said, "These are not moral arguments; these are sketches."
Yeah.
I literally wrote down next to him saying that, "Thank you for reminding me," because I'd like totally forgotten. I'm like halfway through the Conqueror, and I'm like, "What is this?" And then I'm like, "Oh, they're just illustrations."
Yeah,
Conqueror is
yeah,
my
it's
favorite for sure, but
yeah, no, it's very much like, hey, I don't want to live my life in any of these aspects.
Yeah, I'll be
I'm
so
like,
horrible.
why am I learning
Yeah.
about this? Yeah, no, but and then it makes sense. Yeah.
we got I mean, to be fair to him, like doing extreme examples is definitely I think probably the best way to illustrate, as opposed to just like a regular, like the civil servant,
Yeah. Yeah, the Silver Star. Yeah, no one's gonna want to read that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I mean, it's true.
But
This was way more interesting.
They use it perfectly as a contrast, but
Master
I think we're
Sketcher.
definitely getting too far.
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess we.
Don Juan. I get that. We'll start off with that absurd, man. All of these really just encapsulated the absurdity. Especially, okay, this is what I wrote down for Don Juan and I kind of latched on to the part where they said, I don't have my book, so I'm going to read the notes that I have, but you'll probably be able to find where I was talking about. But someone who is conscious of his desires and actions, and that's what makes him absurd. He was conscious of what he wanted. He's conscious of his body wanting what it wanted, and he would just go with it. And
he just do it.
he really what did they say? He lived a quantitative life, which is, again, one way to go about it and to really show this absurdism philosophy. Because
Yeah, I think when we're talking about what you were talking about, how he understands the consequences of his actions. He says in the book, he reminds one of those artists who know their limits, never go beyond them, and in that precarious interval in which they take their spiritual stand, enjoy all the wonderful ease of masters. And it's like, it's interesting that it's like, instead of going, oh, like maybe this isn't, maybe this is bad what I'm doing, like maybe this is harming people, maybe this is a problem seducing all these women, he's just like, well, I'm really good at this, so I guess it's what I'm supposed to be doing. And then just like found solace in the mastery of, being a seducer.
Dude, I'm just saying, he found his thing and he
He
did it,
stuck with
you
it,
know?
Yeah.
He stuck with it. He found a method that worked and he just kept on doing it.
But I
And people
think
got mad at him.
I think one important
I
thing
wonder why.
I mean, he himself said I don't know if he said it, but it was somewhere in the book where it said he accepted all of the rules of the game, and being being of nobility, he had to respect every rule of the game, and that comes with ridicule, and he was ready for it. But the meaninglessness of it, he really just dove straight into that. All right, I'll be ridiculed, but look at me, I'm good at what I do. Albeit definitely not
the best
the way. Yeah, not the best means of living your life. Not for me personally, but to each their own.
Yeah. Well, I think one important thing too that like he mentioned was like how Don Juan was like conscious. Like it wasn't just he was just following his pleasures and stuff. He was like conscious of the fact that like what it meant, and also the absurd at the same time of how there's probably no internal, like there's no, like what's the point of morals and all that stuff. I'm just going to follow my innate animal instincts. And so it's not that, and I think this goes back to him saying like these are just examples. It's not the like what he does that makes him a follower of the absurd. It's like what just the fact that he's aware in a sense.
How he lives with it.
Yeah.
They're
living happily, like the freedom of living happily without meaning, knowing that there's no meaning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so he says, just to what you're saying, Howie, he said, it's like, I'm sorry, he says, Don Juan can be properly understood only by constant reference to what he commonly symbolizes, the ordinary seducer, except for the difference that he is conscious, and that is why he is absurd. He's not like, to be the absurd man is not to just go, oh, women are objects. To be the absurd man is to go like, I like seducing people and that's what I'm going to do. And I understand that I'm never going to find love. I understand that like, I'm going to be constantly longing for the next thing and that I'm going to like fall deeply for these people and have them fall deeply for me, and that people are going to be mad and that people are going to hate me, like a deep hatred, like a hatred that goes beyond just, oh, I don't like this guy.
They condemned. They wanted him to burn.
Ruined my life.
This guy out of here.
Yeah, but he knew all of that, and he didn't shy away from it. He wasn't looking around going, why does everybody hate me? I just don't get it. Like he knew what he was doing.
But
I want to say something real. I was wanting to say something real fast about. I agree with everything you said except for one part, and this is one of the quotes that I just pulled from the book because I was like, okay. And it was, the more one loves, the stronger the absurd grows. It is not through lack of love that Don Juan goes from women to women. It is ridiculous to represent him as a mystic in a quest of total love. To kind of, I don't know.
remember that one, yeah.
I don't know if he was searching for love.
Yeah, he says, if he leaves a woman, it is not absolutely because he has ceased to desire her. A beautiful woman is always desirable, but he desires another, and no, this is not the same thing.
No, yeah. So what I think it's saying is like he had genuine love for all of these different women, but he still pursued it because he had love for each woman, not because like the kind of like the Christianity overarching thing of like you have to love one person. He's like, well, I love this person and this person and this person and this person.
And
I love them all.
And this person.
Yeah. And to him, it's like, it feels like it's almost a disservice to not express and pursue that love for every individual that he like runs into.
Right.
You know.
You kind of like roll on that. Also, the bottom of page is 72. It says, "Is he selfish for all that? In his way, probably. But here too, it is essential to understand one another. There are those who are made for living, and those who are made for loving. At least Don Juan would be inclined to say so." So, like, it's that interesting thing of like everyone's out here thinking he's selfish and like this evil person, like I'll go get him. But it's interesting to try to see from a different perspective of him not being selfish and to kind of like go on from that. Like that's kind of like what you were saying, Connor, about like, oh well, he loves this person, this person, and this person, and this person, and he feels it wrong to not like, I guess, express that love or what have you, right? And it's very interesting because
Bro really just flipped it.
yeah, like
No, so I wanna say something too. I do not respect this man and his way of thinking at all.
yeah,
I just find
You
it
gotta
interesting.
preface all of this with Don Juan. These are not moral arguments.
Don Juan is not
like
cool.
it's clearly all
No,
wrong.
not a
This is
good
all
guy.
clearly wrong.
He's
Not-
not cool.
But it's so
Not my
interesting
way
to
of
see
living
this
life.
perspective of like, in a sense, like someone trying to defend him. What feels like, because like obviously, like yeah, it's wrong. It's just like seeing the other side of the argument. It's presented very well. It's so interesting.
I
But,
wouldn't
like,
even say he was
I think-
defending him. He was just. I was gonna say. I wouldn't say he was defending him. He was showing how he was living
or how
in
he
the absurd.
thinks. I think it's like how
Yeah,
he
dude.
thinks, and like how he's trying
Honestly-
to make excuses for himself. And I think that's the thing is like all of this has to do with like how he feels, and none of it talks about how like everyone else sees affecting feelings.
Yeah.
Like, people like just hating him,
Mhm.
And I think that's the point that is kind of missed is like how it affects others. And
Well-
Yeah, no, like I will say, I feel like a lot of these characters that are kind of described in this, specific Juan, it feels like it's like a TLC documentary where it's just like, take a look at this shit. This is happening. Some people are like this. Isn't that crazy? Anyways,
Yeah.
there's no moral here. That's just happening.
This is just a guy that exists, Well,
but at least
I
he's
think,
conscious.
yeah. Howie, I don't think him missing like how it makes other people feel is missing the point. I actually think it's part of the point. So there's one quote where he says, he knows just as well that those who turn away from all personal life through a great love enrich themselves, perhaps, but certainly impoverish those whose love has chosen, those their love has chosen. And like, it's like the idea that he's aware that he's getting a lot of enrichment from this, but it's like destroying these other people, right? And I think that one of the points that he harps on that I'd like to, kind of come back to as we talk about the other characters throughout this is the idea of like the contradiction and how like it is human to be contradictory. And each one of these characters has like a core contradiction at their soul that is what makes them human. And for Don Juan, it's like, you love all these people, but if you really loved them, would you do this to them?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and so it's like, yeah, I could see where he's coming from, saying that he just has all this love to give and he needs to give everyone, but it also doesn't make any sense. But also, that's the absurd, is that it doesn't make sense. And to be human is to be absurd.
I'm glad you brought it up because that's I think it's definitely correct. Well, I wouldn't say correct, but like, because correct is a strong word, but a really good perspective.
I really like the contradiction that comes with the actor. We can get back. We can go into that, but that was one that I was very much. I really loved the way that it was portrayed and the way that Albert Camus portrayed it.
I think the actor's probably my favorite. I think that's a very interesting take.
I love that
'Cause-
one.
Yeah.
It made me like actors. And I kind
Yeah.
of have like a general like distaste for like the concept of a profession where your whole job is to lie to people. Like that's always just kind of like unsettled me a little bit. But I read this and I was like, you know what? Actually,
Maybe they're just
I
a little
kind of
bit
get
different.
it and I almost respect it,
I do too.
Well, there's one more thing I want to talk about Don Juan because it sounds like we're kind of ready to move on to the actor. But it's close to the end. It's a part where he says, like on page 76, he talks about like what he believes like happened to Don Juan, like his ending and all that stuff. And he says, but above all, I believe that on the evening when Don Juan was waiting at Anna's, the commander didn't come. And after midnight, the blasphemer must have felt the dreadful bitterness of those who have been right. And there's a little bit after that goes on to him saying like how Don Juan, like he imagines Don Juan in a cell, not imagining all his past loves, but just like that serene little spot. But I think that one sentence right there kind of also hints at like, yes, Don Juan like knew what it meant, what all this meant, but it never really hit him. I don't know Don Juan's story, but like from what I assume here, it didn't really hit him until this girl named Anna, and it's very interesting to me how it just kind of comes back to him like knowing what like all this meant, but then like still feeling that dreadful bitterness at the end of it, because like maybe it's just one of those things where, and it's like a beginning example of just your primary one of those things, there's no real extra thought behind it, and it's kind of like a good like thing about like maybe you should have put some extra thought behind it, or like something like that, And I thought that was an interesting little part to the end of Don Juan.
I don't know where exactly it was, but somewhere I think it was with the Don Juan. It would make sense if it was, but there's a part that said the body is king, and
yeah,
from our Stoic read was, I guess that one just didn't really resonate with me too much.
I think it's something that's really interesting is the comparison.
But it is Don Juan's story, yeah.
Yeah. But the comparison
I think
between Marcus Aurelius and this book is crazy.
No, this is a big change.
It's weird because it's a big change, but I feel like in some ways they hit on like
there's
a couple little points that they do match up on. Yeah.
And they go about it, and like they get to that point in such different ways.
Yes.
Well, I think it's good to take these different. I'm glad that this was the next book because it's such a different perspective on most things. Because I think we've talked about this before, but like the fact that there's good and bad, and I think like every perspective, and it allows you to grab some more good. Use that as a stepping stone if you're calling back to the previous episode. But
yeah.
Do you think, like with everything said about Don Juan, I almost said Don Julio again. Do you think it was shallowness?
Do you think what?
No.
Jealous?
No. Shallowness.
Sorry, what was the question?
Do you think it was shallowness at the end of it all for Don Juan?
For Mr. Donnie J.
Like which part? Like
Actually,
his
not
lifestyle?
gonna say that again.
Yeah, just his lifestyle. Do you think it was shallowness, or do you think that the absurdity and him loving multiple people was the whole thing? Living through his freedom rather than shallowness. Or do you think it's freedom or shallowness? I'll put it that way.
I don't know. To me, it's like, is it shallow to understand the rules of the game? Like, I feel like that concept, like getting there, takes a significant amount of thought, right? Like, right. Again, the concept being like he understood his station as a noble and understood what that afforded him and felt it wrong to not play the game the best he could. If we go back to our like poker analogy that we had in our last book club, it's like he's the I guess the shark, he's like he knows that he has the good hand, and so he's playing it to his fullest, and it's really pissing off some of the people that limped into this flop with something miserable, but it doesn't matter. He's not gonna feel sorry for them,
Love that analogy. I love that analogy, Seth.
Yeah.
Do you think
it's a great analogy. The whole poker analogy is a great analogy.
Poker is always an amazing analogy. For me.
Yeah. Whoever thought of that was crazy.
Do you think, 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 do you They were cooking.
I heard it off the video.
They were
I'm not even
cooking.
gonna lie.
It was I think it's Kenny Rogers, right? The gambler.
That's good. That's
Got to
good. I
know
like
when to
that.
hold him.
Gotta know when to
Modern day
fold 'em.
philosopher, man.
But like I think it could be shallow in the sense of like again reaching back to that end of this chapter, it almost feels like he just didn't know himself. Like he thought about right, he thought about like what he was doing, and he thought about it to the way of the absurd. Like, okay, am I doing what's right or wrong? And then he was like, well, there's a good chance everything's meaningless, so there's no such thing as right or wrong. I just have to deal with the consequences of what's in the world, and not have to worry about the eternal. But like going back to that end, it still makes me feel like maybe he. But no, he talks about Don Juan not regretting anything because he knows that that has to do with hope, right?
Oh, I
Yeah,
also really
he
love that
rejects
regret is
regret.
another form of hope.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really
That
enjoyed
was,
that part too.
I had personally never thought about regret that way, but
Me
Me
neither.
neither.
But
But
that's
you
what
know,
it is. It's the hope for something that you'll never get.
that
yeah,
that could have been.
that could have
Yeah.
been.
Great quote.
And it, I mean, honestly, after reading that, it really did make me feel like just like at least like a lot more calm about regrets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was great. I think having that perspective is actually wow, especially since we're talking about the absurd and how we
Yeah.
shouldn't have that hope.
But you see, like I
I'm
think
gonna take the middle ground and take the easiest route. That it was definitely both, man. There's an aspect of freedom and
Mr.
shallowness.
Fence Rider over here.
Honestly, choose a side.
Pick a side. No, dude, judging is so difficult to put onto Don Juan because yeah, he did, like you said, Seth. He played his hand.
Mhm.
Motherfucker played his hand. Would I have played that same hand? Probably not. But
No.
he did what he wanted to do, and there's an aspect of freedom in that. There's that contradiction that makes it shallow, though. If you really loved them, would you have done all that to them?
But
Yeah.
I think that's the rub right there is, if you're leading like if you recognize the absurdity and you live life knowing that it has no meaning and you just choose, revolt, freedom, passion, all of that, I feel like there is going to be inherent shallowness to that lifestyle. I feel like there is going to be inherent selfishness to that lifestyle because eventually you are going to hurt someone's feelings if, they do lead the non-absurd life, following in like the, religions and all that other stuff that offer like a purpose to life, like even origins to the universe, rules and, reward and all that stuff. Well, if you, go and say, well, I don't, believe in that, so you're wrong. Life has no meaning. Then you're going to come across as a dick to that person. You see what I'm saying? Like I feel like if you lead the absurd lifestyle, then you are going to inherently give off those kind of vibes.
Well, not to jump ahead, but Albert does make mention of how, in the Conqueror, like, or I guess not, you know what I'm saying. In the Conqueror, it's like a man does not have value based off what he says, but what he does not say. And
Yeah.
I think that ties into what you're saying, Connor, about how don't be like, oh, life has no meaning. Don't like just say that to people are going to be a dick. It's something that you just hold to yourself. And if someone else like comes to the same conclusion as you, then like then you can talk about it. But
And maybe that's kind of like the point that not the point, but maybe that's one of the things he's trying to focus on here is the kind of the idea that it's like, did Don Juan hate anybody? Like he doesn't mention him having any kind of like disdain or looking down upon anybody, right? And I think that maybe that's kind of like where that's the only way for him to stand by the concept that he has all this love is if he actually loves everybody. And the only way to do that is to not fight back and to accept like the ways that people are going to feel about him without, I guess, thinking they are lesser, I think you're kind of like hit with the reverse of that with the actor because the actor is one who has fame, right? And I think that fame is one of those things that can cause normal people to seem godly, almost godlike, right? But which is another reason why I always kind of have a distaste for them, right?
Me too.
Um,
Great segue,
but-
by the way.
I was about to say
Yeah.
what a transition. I was letting him cook, but I was gonna say what a transition at the end.
But yeah, I think that it's also very interesting because if we go back to Marky Mark and his thoughts on fame, he's like, this is all dumb, right? And so the concept that Camus is coming with, Camus. Sorry, Connor.
You got with the
I
S
can't
too.
believe
I
this.
did.
Oh, it was me last episode. It was me.
I know, it's tough. But he says the actor's realm is that of the fleeting. Of all kinds of fame, it is known his is the most ephemeral. At least this is said in conversation. And I think it's very interesting because I think both Marcus Aurelius and Camus would agree that fame is dumb and meaningless in the grand scheme of things. So it's interesting that for his example of absurdism, he picks someone who has like I guess the worst kind of fame if you're looking to accomplish what fame wants to accomplish, right? The fleeting, the short fame.
I want to real quick. I want to continue from where you left off, Seth. Of all kinds of fame, his is the most ephemeral. At least that is said in conversation. But all kinds of fame are ephemeral. From the point of view, I'm gonna skip here. Seriously meditated upon, it reduces our perturbations to the profound nobility that is found in indifference. Above all, it directs our concerns toward what is most certain, that is, toward the immediate. Of all kinds of fame, the least deceptive is the one that is lived. Hence, the actor has chosen multiple fame, the fame that is hallowed and tested. And I just want to ask you, Seth, because you talked about this earlier, how do you feel about him saying that, like, of all kinds of fame, the least deceptive is the one that has lived? Like, kind of like talking about, like, the least deceptive is the one, I guess, actors. I would assume that's what he's alluding to. Because
Yeah.
you're talking about how, like, actors are lying for their job and stuff like that.
Well, I think that this was one of the statements that I think kind of like changed my view on them because he calls me out. He calls me out personally because I have always had a problem with actors, but I've loved authors. I think people who write and create great novels of literature are fantastic and awesome, right? He says a writer has some hope even if he is not appreciated. He assumes that his works will bear witness to what he was. At best, the actor will leave us a photograph and nothing of what he was himself. His gestures and his silences, his gasping or his panting with love will come down to us. And it's like the writer is putting himself out there and has this kind of idea that, oh, myself is what's meant to be looked at and marveled. Where there's almost an odd humility in the actor going that who I am is not important. What is important is this character, this person who is nothing like me. Like that's what needs to be. And in a weird way, they get famous. Not only are they famous for stuff that doesn't even have anything to do with them or who they are, but they actually get to be alive and experience the fame of like having been through that character, right? Like where again, as a writer, you're kind of just hoping that after you die, people will keep reading your words, which is almost more ridiculous than at least the person who gets to be famous, like right now, like
Epiphany. Seth had one hell of an epiphany. God
I
damn,
did.
that's an amazing one.
Mhm.
I did, and
I didn't even catch that personally. The ridiculousness of a writer wanting to have their works continue to be read, having them be their ideas, them be the thing that one they want to have looked at.
yeah,
And I think it goes back. I mean, like in Seth, I don't think you're like completely wrong either. Even about the writer too. Like before you had this epiphany and stuff. I think it just all goes down to like how we talked about before, the intent. Because there are definitely writers like who do that who like want people to read their words so that way people can remember them. Whereas there's also probably writers out there who write to try to actually like help people and like give some knowledge or some way of thinking.
I would say George Orwell is a great example of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing with actors too, where I don't think all actors are I think there are definitely actors who do it just because they want fame. And there's also
Mhm.
actors who
Oh, yeah.
do it because they either, like how Albert says, like they want to live all these different lives of all these different characters, or maybe they also just want to bring joy to people, like give them something to watch and enjoy and like entertainment. And so
Like
it
like
all
Adam
just
Sandler.
yeah,
Another good example.
Adam
yeah,
Sandler is the noble actor, bro.
Like Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. There we go.
so it really does come down to that intent. Even Don Juan, in a sense, he could have been malicious. I mean, like either way, it's like clearly not the correct, probably not the right way to go. It's not as bad if he would be like maliciously trying to hurt people.
Yeah.
And so I think the intent actually matters in like a lot of things.
The understanding the consequences of your actions is like a really big part of it. This actually is that concept is actually, I don't know if you remember this, David, but it's a flashback to one of like our first book clubs, like chapter
Right.
3, I think, where I talked about a situation I had in my life and how I was like, I know that doing this is going to be bad for me. Like, I know that it's going to result in pain and probably like hurt me like long term, but I want to do it anyways. Like, I still, it is worth it to me. Like that
I was
pain.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was a really fun little philosophical semi kind of not contradiction, but I'd say battle. You know,
Yes.
I remember the idea that it was something as though, what if you realize that this wouldn't just hurt you in the future, but could hurt somebody else in the future?
Yes, he does remember. He
I
does
remember it. I
remember.
remember the conversation. I remember it very, very well.
And I think and see there and just to go back to like the absurd, right? Don Juan and I are both absurd. Don Juan goes, well, I don't really care if it hurts that other person. But for me, that did matter. It mattered to me so much that I didn't do the thing I thought I was going to do. Because, like, the concept of, like, hurting somebody later in my life, you know, that I didn't even
Might
know
end up
existed
going
yet.
that you might not even know.
Yeah, exactly. Was enough to, like, really bother me. And almost a year later now, really glad I didn't go do that because it did set me up to be in a much better place to receive some other people who have become pretty important in my life. So, but neither me nor Donnie are any better than the other. We're just both living in the absurd, you know.
Living La Viva Loca.
Mm-hmm.
What do y'all think about the idea that like just living and dying over and over again, like the actor, and how that ties into the absurd? Because I thought
Dude,
that was definitely one of the most interesting, probably the most interesting. That and like the idea of how the church, like how this wasn't seen as evil, but they kind of tie into one another. But I definitely think like the idea of dying over and over and over again was probably the most interesting topic of the actor.
I loved it because of the whole. What y'all can tell me if you said. I really wish I had my book here physically, but
You'll never forget it
really tough,
again.
really tough. But losing yourself to find yourself
Mm-hmm.
is essentially what the actor in this example is doing. They lose themselves in so many characters because that is their passion. That is how they find themselves. That is what gives their what they find gives their life meaning. And living the multiple lives, the absurdity of that, knowing that you're gonna the curtain's gonna fall, the character's gonna die, but you're ready to put in your all, put in your emotions, put in the time to learn the characters, the time to perfect the character, putting in all of that, even though you're gonna know it. Also, back to the fleeting fame, it's gonna be fleeting fame. It's gosh, I love the example that he gave for the actor as an absurd situation.
It's so sick.
Living multiple different lives to give your one life meaning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that like
The
when you say
contradiction.
that, like literally that, it sounds absurd.
The contradiction. Yep.
And I think he makes that point many times about how like you're literally kind of losing yourself in these characters. I think like right at the beginning, he mentions Hamlet and how like anytime like if someone like plays Hamlet and stuff like that, anytime like you raise a glass or something or like you have a glass, like you're thinking about you know the raising
How
the
Hamlet would
glass.
raise his glass. Yeah.
And like that
It
is in a
it
sense, yeah,
bleeds.
it
It
bleeds
bleeds
into
into
you.
your real life.
Yeah, it bleeds into who you are. And if it comes to the extreme, you could literally be like not even like multiple personality disorder, right? I think like literally giving up yourself to play these characters.
To them, what did they say is it was there was a part that I got I really latched onto. It was to not be seen is to not act, I think is how it went.
For him, not to be known is not to act, and not acting is dying 100 times with all the creatures he would have brought to life or resuscitated.
Oh, dude, the portrayal of that is just so beautiful. I love
Yeah.
it.
Do you guys
To
see
not
it's like a
act is
sacrifice in a way? Because like kind of like what that
Him
says.
acting.
Well, yeah, because it's like you're giving life to these characters, like for others, and also
at the
in a
cost
sense
of your
for
own
these
time
characters
slash life.
themselves. Yeah, and you're giving up a little bit of yourself every time in this way.
Wait, that's crazy.
That's sick, dude.
But that's the absurd part is
It,
like
it almost is. You know how he I would say how he hit the
it's
he
the
hit the nail
idea,
right on the head.
but like it's the idea like at the same time like it because it is absurd, right? But I think you can only really do that by understanding that life is absurd. And I think that's what Albert is trying to say. Like life is absurd. Like they realize life is absurd, and they're not worried about the eternal, so they're willing to give up like sacrifice this stuff in order because they just can't help it. It's their way of living. Like how Don Hahn, he just couldn't like in a sense really help it. That was like the way he lived, and he did it. He was conscious as well about the absurd, how there was no like probably no eternal. And that's probably how these actors are also thinking. There's probably no eternal, so I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to sacrifice myself because I just love this. I love bringing characters to life.
Wait,
And
that is crazy. Like,
yeah,
yeah, my life is meaningless, but look at how great this person's life was.
Yeah.
That's insane.
My life is so meaningless that I'm going to introduce you without using my name. You're not even going to know who I am
you're just going to know the character
unless
I
you
play.
care to find out. Yeah.
Like honestly, like Robert Downey Jr. guys, I don't know a thing about him in real life, but I know
I
this
know.
guy is Iron Man.
And
That is
I'm-
Iron Man.
I'm also thinking of all the movies I've watched where as soon as the credits roll, I just get up and leave because I don't care who the people are.
They just lived a life.
Yeah.
Now that
Their
life
entire
is
life, they had the
They lived
emotions,
and
all
died.
of it.
That's so sick.
Like I mean, that's what happens if you're a really good actor too. Like you
Yeah.
are that character, so you are in a
Yeah.
sense living and dying.
R.I.P. the guy who played Joffrey on Game of Thrones.
Rest in
Yeah.
peace.
He's not acting anymore. I know that.
Oh boy.
He was too good.
He was too good.
There's a part where he goes, I should never really understand Iago unless I played his part. And part of that is like commenting on the actor, like getting to live these lives and living what he referred to, Don Juan, the qualitative life, right? Or quantitative. He's going to live like
Quantitative.
multiple lives, right? But I think something I kind of took away from this, and it's an idea that I've kind of like, we touched on a little bit back in meditations, because it's like the concept of like letting go of like evil as a concept almost, because you don't truly understand. You'll never truly understand like a man's motivations, and most people like act with motivations in mind that are like meant to like protect or like keep them and their loved ones safe. It's a hard lesson for me to understand that like I will never understand any of you like truly, no matter how much time we spend like talking about this stuff, because I will never have lived your life. And on the flip side, none of you will ever understand me. And I think in a weird way, it's like almost my own human contradiction is like constantly searching for someone to know me like that, even though they can't. It's impossible. No one will ever
That's
know me
quite absurd.
the way I know I know me.
Just
You
go,
know?
just dive into
Absurd.
the absurd, Seth.
Right
Yeah,
into
that's
it.
true. Shit, I got to figure out what that looks like.
I mean, I think Marcus too would also be telling you kind of the same thing to, don't try to understand everyone, but just take it for how they are, for how you see them. And if someone, like how Marcus would say, like if someone's hurting themselves or something, try to help them. But I don't think he would say that it's your job to try to understand people. It's just
Well, I think
Which
my
side? I was
problem.
gonna say Albert might say, "Nah, you better live in the absurd, live in that contradiction, because that is your.
I feel like the
It's
absurd
Yeah.
is the
it
opposite
gives you
almost.
something."
Well, I think that's my problem is less like trying to understand other people and more trying to get other people to understand me, right? And like again, trying to constantly get this point across that I will never ever be able to express or like get across to somebody, no matter how long I have to live with them and try to explain it. You know, I think that like I guess I don't really know what that means for my life,
Dude,
but it's kind of this like curious idea where it's like, even the actor doesn't truly get across the character to Albert. He says, I should never really understand Iago unless I played his part. You know, it is not enough to hear him, for I grasp him only at the moment when I see him. And like applying that to like me as a human being, I think is kind of interesting. And honestly, it gives me, in a weird way, a lot of peace to let go of some things that I've been like trying really hard to like achieve because they're a fool's errand.
I feel like that we can talk
Or
about that.
maybe,
What are you saying?
yeah.
I was just
Or, said,
saying
or
that.
maybe I should dive into it even more.
Wait,
Dude,
a fool's
that's a
errand
good
in the
conqueror. I think that's a
yeah,
great,
because
great
Compass
segue
he
for the
literally
conqueror.
says,
But
"I've a liking for lost cause. They require an uncontaminated soul equal to its defeat as to its temporary victories."
Oh man,
also, he says conquers.
accidental segue.
Well, okay. Another thing to conquer, real quick. Conquerors know that action is in itself useless. There is but one useful action, that of remaking man and the earth. I shall never remake man or men, but one must do as if. For the path of struggle leads me to the flesh. Even humiliated, the flesh is my only certainty. I can live only on it. Which is like, I mean, you're trying to do the as if here of trying to
Yeah.
understand. The
Conqueror.
conqueror.
Real quick, I wanted to say, I guess just quick expanding on Seth's thought is you letting go of that, and that you no matter how much time you have to get someone to understand something that you really want to get across, even though you know it's a fool's errand, maybe that giving you peace of mind can, in a way, help you get whatever point you want across better,
Yeah.
because you're
Or
not so much hanging on trying to get it across because you know it's meaningless. So now you have more freedom to get it across.
yeah, like I guess my initial reaction was that I should give up, like I should let it go. But I don't think that's what he's trying to say. I think he's actually trying to say like
The opposite.
that's almost exactly why you should do it,
Mm-hmm.
because you'll never get there.
You guys have just made it click for me as to what I think the next section is going to be about.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold off for now.
I did too.
But
When I got to the end of this
that just
chapter, I
made
was
it
like,
click for me actually.
Sisyphus, is that
Especially
guy in
because-
this book somewhere?
Like Connor said, the walls are forming. I'm starting to see the
Yeah.
house.
He's so
I'm seeing the
right.
frames.
Especially because at the end of chapter 1 he says the point is to live, and then y'all just saying
Yeah.
this just now is like, wait a second. Okay, so we should be doing something.
Yep.
We should be this is about the absurd. We should be doing something absurd.
Yeah.
Connor, I'm looking at your face to see if you can give me any hints right now.
Connor's like a dad who just showed like his 3 kids like his favorite video game, and he's watching them like experience the joy of like understanding its mechanisms for the first time.
I feel like I'm
Yeah.
showing David the Lord of the Rings again for the first time.
Okay, the Conqueror. This was definitely my favorite part of this section, just because I love people like. I mean, obviously it's not the same thing, but like I love like people like Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar. So even though I hadn't started reading yet. The second I saw the Conqueror, I was like, oh. I just
Who would've-
started
who would've-
freaking out. I just started
Who would have
getting
thought the capitalist apologist would have liked the conqueror the most?
smart. Dude, what can I say, man? Maybe I started taking some notes. Maybe, do you guys remember when I was like, okay,
I was
I'm
like,
gonna
this is
start
a model,
annotating.
right?
You guys
Well,
remember
we
I
are
was like,
supposed to
I'm
live
gonna
like
start
this.
annotating. I started reading Conquer. I was like, man, I wish I annotated just for the Conquer.
Well, what was your favorite part about him, Howie?
Yeah. Let me hear it because for
All
me,
right,
I'm not
I
gonna
wrote
lie. I
some
don't
stuff
think the Conqueror resonated too much with me. For me, it was definitely the actor.
I liked the Conqueror too, Howie. I'll be with you on this one.
I liked it.
Okay,
Resonating and liking two different things. Just want to throw it up
That's a
there.
good point.
I think my favorite part was probably just kind of touching, like on. Okay, so this is something that this is like probably one of my like fundamental beliefs, like about who I am, and it's the idea that you kind of have to realize in a sense that you're never going to get a second chance to do the things that you want to do, or make an impact on the world or anything like that. Your time is here, it's now, and I think that's definitely a big part of the absurd for sure. But I mean, it's here, it's now, and if you're going to do something, you need to just how he says, so you need to take action and do that thing, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be something grand. It could be something as simple as like, man, I want to be a gardener. And if that's like that's just like what you want to do, you want to like trim some beautiful hedges or something, dude, then go do it. But don't just stand around. And I think that was definitely a big part of the Conqueror, was the idea of like for example, he like. Okay, I'm gonna read this entire paragraph. If that's fine with you guys, because this entire paragraph is so hype to me.
All right.
Okay, it's the middle. It starts at the middle of page 86. There always comes a time when one must choose between contemplation and action. This is called becoming a man. Such wrenches are dreadful, but for a proud heart there can be no compromise. There is God or time, that cross or this sword. By the way, I thought that line right there was a bomb. That line right there was a bang.
Bomb.
Okay. This world has a higher meaning that transcends its worries, or nothing is true but those worries. One must live with time and die with it, or else elude for a greater life. I know that one can compromise and live in the world while believing in the eternal. That is called accepting. I loathe this term, and I want all or nothing. If I choose action, don't think that contemplation is like an unknown country to me, but it cannot give me everything. And deprived of the eternal, I want to ally myself with time. I do not want to put down to my account either nostalgia or bitterness, and I merely want to see clearly. I tell you, tomorrow you will be mobilized. For you and for me, that is liberation. The individual can do nothing, and yet he can do everything. In that wonderful, unattached state, you understand why I exalt and crush him at one and the same. It is the world that pulverizes him, and I who liberate him. I provide him with all his rights. And that,
Even though I said
that is my
the Conqueror
favorite.
didn't resonate with me. Sorry, even though I said the Conqueror didn't resonate with me, that was one of the things that I did write down the very end where you said,
Yeah.
if I tell you to mobilize tomorrow, I'm both liberating you and
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 subjugating you.
that is my favorite part. And
It makes me want. It makes you just run through a wall, bro. So,
this has actually been like a big. This book came at me at a perfect time, honestly, because I have been trying to, like, a lot at the end of college and like even up till recently, I had this idea that by having a faith or like by believing in God or something like that, it allows you to kind of be more resolute in the things that you want to do, because it's like this higher power is telling you to do it as opposed to yourself, and it's like you're kind of doing it for someone else in a sense, and in a way that provides more strength. But this right here, like this line of that is, I know that one can compromise and live in the world while believing in the eternal. That is called accepting, and that makes me think a whole lot differently. Like maybe I need to try to go back to just like just there's okay. This is really important thing that comes with like biographies of founders and businesses, and that's the idea of focus and how important just pure focus is. And I think that this kind of makes a good play on it of like you kind of have this outside perspective. Like you're also thinking about God, right? And like faith and all this stuff. But if you just take that away and put all of that instead on like your work and moving, being mobilized, being liberated, then maybe you could work harder or stronger or what have you. In a sense.
Yeah, no, because like again with like the whole religion argument, it's like that is belief, that is hope, right?
Yeah.
Whereas him saying like that cross or this sword, right? So the sword, what that's for. The cross is like hope. You see what I'm saying? If you put yourself into your work, there's a certain outcome if you follow it through. Whereas if you spend your time believing, that's hope. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like,
am I cooking here, chat?
I get what you're saying. It's like you hoping that what you're trying to accomplish will happen versus you being fully invested in what you're trying to do to make it happen. And
then that's certain. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I know for me, what I was trying to think of when it came to like me trying to make a belief system was the fact that like this higher power wants like I guess soldiers in a way, people who like dedicate themselves to whatever they need to do and or whatever they want to do, and also like putting aside like distractions like drinking or what have you or whatnot, and in that way you would be good in his eyes. But I mean, it was really me just with my own beliefs trying to put some kind of higher faith to it. Honestly, almost like how Albert talks about in the first chapter of like just you have your beliefs and your ideas, and then you put like the idea of the eternal on it. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
At the end of the day, again, these aren't necessarily Albert like saying this is what you need to do, but I think that to talk to your point, Howie, I don't think that like religion necessarily like precludes you from accomplishing like what you want, right? I think it's more that like I think it might be trying to tell you that if you shouldn't subscribe to that unless you're like all in on it, right? So you're either if you're going to be a religious person, don't be religious because it's like advantageous to you. Like don't be religious because you think it holds you accountable. Hold yourself accountable. And if that's how you want to do it, if you actually believe it, if you subscribe to it, that's the power that's unlocked from the conqueror, right? The all or nothing, right? And I think that we like for me, one of the things that upsets me the most about organized religion is people who are clearly not all or nothing, and they use religion as a tool to get what they want, right? And I think that if we apply that to the absurd, it's like I would feel more comfortable around an atheist than I would around somebody who clearly just says they're Christian to feel better than other people, who doesn't actually like follow the teachings of Jesus, or someone who's Muslim but doesn't actually like I love Mustafa Howie, and part of the reason I love him is because he actually like stands by that shit, and that's so cool to me, and it pisses me off when people don't do that. And so I think I wouldn't say that it's necessarily it does kind of seem like that in some ways. I don't necessarily think it's a call to like throw God away, but more that if God's going to be your thing, let it be the cross. Like, be there, like, sacrifice yourself for it. Go all in. Like, be subscribed to that. Don't just, he at the very beginning, he says, I have not many opinions. At the end of life, the man notices that he has spent years becoming sure of a single truth, but a single truth, if it is obvious, is enough to guide an existence. If it's obvious. If it's not obvious to you, then it's probably just going to lead you astray. you know.
True.
Dude, I remember this one anime I watched. It's called The Case Study of Vanitas. Banger. Um, in it, it actually makes like a point here about. So like, there's this character. He's having like doubts and like all this stuff. Like normal, like get you ready for some sweet character development. And in it, our main guy, he like slaps a character. And he's like tells him about this lighthouse and how this lighthouse should be that one single point of light that is your guiding light throughout life. And by having that lighthouse with a guiding light, that is how you know where you are going through life. Having that single truth to help you make your decisions and all that stuff. And I think that like, having a single truth is definitely good. I think it's a little hard to have that encompass everything in life, but just having clear principles, I guess, and using that to make your decisions in life.
Well, do you think that every character in this chapter has a single truth?
I think that they have definitely one main goal, or not goal, but like one main, like how we talked earlier. Like there's like one thing that these guys like they know what they're like good at. They know what they're doing, and they do that.
Mm-hmm.
They have a driving factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The actor,
Something that
they want to live these characters. Don Juan,
Yeah.
he wants to seduce. The Conqueror,
he wants this.
okay. I think that Don Juan and the actor were a lot more comparable, whereas the Conqueror kind of felt like to me like his own thing. I couldn't really tell. I don't know if you guys can answer like what his.
I feel like there's got to be some unifying, like, if Big Al has any hope of expressing a philosophical idea to us, there needs to be some kind of unifying thread, and that is, and maybe, and I think in some ways that thread is the contradiction, and the question is, well, what is the Conqueror's contradiction? He talks all this.
I was going to build it. For me, the Conqueror's contradiction is doing something while fighting for a lost cause. I think for me, the Conqueror's contradiction was specifically that whole speak about the knowing you can't move a man, but acting as if you can anyways.
Yeah, like he has this whole spiel. Like when how he read that paragraph, because I also really like that paragraph and I underlined many things in it, so I'm kind of glad he read the whole thing. When I read that whole paragraph, I left going, I can do anything. And then the immediate thing he says next is like, conquerors know that action is in itself useless. Like the next follow-up is like, actually, you can't do anything, stupid idiot. And like I think that like I think you did kind of nail it, David. That's kind of the contradiction is like the desire to act, to accomplish anything, knowing that you will fail, you will fall short, you will not achieve everything you set out to achieve, yet going all in and trying to do it anyways.
You have that all or nothing mentality, even though you know for a fact, that you're obviously not going to get all. It's impossible.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe he would say you're always guaranteed nothing.
Well,
I mean, like if we're not believing in an eternal, right? Then like they're really
all
like,
you're guaranteed is nothing.
Yeah, like your action isn't itself useless. Like you can change some things maybe, but then like is that going to change everything forever? Like, and then like even after you're gone, is that like how will you even know? And it's
but I think before we get too far in that, because I think that he's actually trying really hard to keep us from going down that path. He's kind of trying to get to the point where it's like, stop thinking about what happens after you die, because it doesn't really matter. Like one of the things he says is, yes, man is his own end and he is his only end. If he aims to be something, it is in this life, so, and that's part of why he still tries to achieve all these things that he knows that he probably can't, because if he's going to get it, it's going to be now. You know, it's not going to be later.
Nah, I mean,
He
true.
needs to ally himself with time.
And that's, I mean, I agree. That's what he keeps on pulling back, trying to pull us back into. Is like, I mean, that's the absurd. Is that he's like saying, I think that the reason he does bring up that like the action is self-useless is because he's trying to remind, like, okay, you just got us hyped up, man. I'm going to, I'm going to do all this stuff. I'm going to change the world. But he's trying to keep us remembering the absurd, because that's his whole thing, right? Is to make sure we are always conscious that what we're doing, like, this is absurd.
Real quick, what I think he's like leaning towards is like, even these great conquerors in history, right? Like Alexander the Great, after he died, his empire collapsed. Julius Caesar, after he, conquered Rome, he was assassinated and the Roman Republic collapsed. After Napoleon conquered all of, Europe, his empire collapsed and France collapsed as well. So it's like, at the end of the day, your actions do mean nothing. You will fail. If you're trying to conquer everything, you're going to fail.
All empires eventually crumble. But
I
he
just found-
doesn't. You do these great things in your lifetime regardless.
Yes.
And
I just found it. At this level, the absurd gives them a royal power. It is true that those princes are without a kingdom, but they have this advantage over others. They know that all royalties are illusionary. They know that it is. They know that it's their whole nobility, and it is useless to speak in retaliation to them of hidden misfortune or the ashes of disillusion.
that's. I think it's the perfect. I forgot about that one, but I do remember that one and thinking, wow, that this is banger. And yeah,
I mean,
that's-
he ties it all. The whole last page is essentially just tying everyone together back to the absurdity of each situation, each character that he's presented us.
True. So to me, it seems like the similarities are definitely the contradictions as well as the God stuff. I really like this final paragraph about the conqueror looking at the cemeteries, looking at the graves, and then not as something that's like necessarily sad, but like as a reminder of the path that the conqueror has chosen. I think that I don't know. I just thought it was really cool. I don't know if I necessarily have an idea, but others without compromising either have chosen the eternal and denounced the illusion of this world. Their cemeteries smile amid numerous flowers and birds. That suits the conqueror and gives him a clear image of what he has rejected. He has chosen, on the contrary, the black iron fence or the potter's field. The best among the men of God occasionally are seized with fright mingled with consideration and pity for minds that can live with such an image of their death. Yet those minds derive their strength and justification from this. Our fate stands before us, and we provoke him. Let's have pride and have awareness of our ineffectual condition. We too sometimes feel pity for ourselves. It is the only compassion that seems acceptable to us, a feeling that perhaps you hardly understand and that seems to you scarcely viral. Sure. Yet the most daring among us are the ones who feel it, but we call the lucid ones virile, and we do not want a strength that is apart from lucidity. I wasn't going to read that entire thing, but then it just kind of happened.
It really made you say virile twice, too.
Yeah. Yeah, it really did me dirty twice. But no, I mean, this is, again, him with, like, the realization, like, the conqueror is aware of what the path he has chosen is. And, he's fine. Like, he or she, they're fine with it.
Sick.
But it is that idea, I think, of all throughout that, the church, religion, it's not going to like you for what you're doing. And that's definitely a majority of people. But you still have this idea of the absurd mind, and you stand strong on it. And so you're just going to, you're going to do it regardless. Have that courage in a sense, And I think that's all another thing is trying to get across to us, is to be able to be courageous, to attack your goals.
Yeah, like don't be afraid of living out your life just because don't be afraid of being absurd just because other people around you aren't, or aren't aware of their own absurdities. Because it's like I think the idea of like the contradiction and how that's deeply human is also like brings me a lot of peace, because I think there's so many moments in my life where I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Why'd I do that? Like that doesn't align at all with who I want to be or what I want to do. And my natural response is to kind of like beat myself up a little bit and be like, you stupid idiot. Like, why'd you eat that entire bar of chocolate? You bought the whole thing so that you
Why'd
could
you eat
have
the
it.
12 Cinnabon burst or whatever the fuck from Taco
I
Bell, man?
did eat all 12 Cinnabon Delights, and I heavily regretted it in the morning. And like,
Full legal
wow,
name.
man, that was great. That was a good callback, David.
I just
That
wanted
was a
to really fast,
prime
because
moment.
Seth was so excited when we were hanging out with Pierce and everyone. He was so excited. He got the Cinnabon Delights. He had them. Look away for 2 minutes. 7 of them were gone.
I was cleaning a
Bro
house,
was
bro.
ready to eat those Cinnabons.
And I'm pretty sure when we were ordering them, I said something like, "And you guys can have some if you want." Nobody had any. They were all for me.
There
He
wasn't enough to
offered. He knew
share.
he was clearing them out. He said, "I'm gonna offer you I'm gonna offer everyone some because there's only like 4 more in here, and I'm clearing them out."
Yeah. It was your last chance. It was your last chance. But yeah, I think
But
moments like that happen, and my initial response is always like, you messed up. You made a mistake. And I have to understand that, like, no, just human. To contradict myself. I want to live a healthy life, and yeah, here I am eating 12 Cinnabon Delights, you know. Why? I
hey,
don't know. It doesn't really make
only,
sense.
only once every 2 years, man. You're all right.
Really cannot tell you the last time I've been to Taco Bell. That was a near religious experience for me. That took me way back.
That's
Near religious.
You know, there is I don't know why this made me think of this, but there's like a quote. I think it has to do with Benjamin Franklin, but it's about how I'm bringing him back. I'm bringing him back. It's about how I think he says there's just something about it where it's easier to do 100% of something than it is to do like 95% of something.
It's easier to eat 12 Cinnabon Delights than 11.
But I think the idea is like if you keep on giving yourself like a taste of the thing that you don't want to be doing, like drinking, I think is just an easy example. Like I say you want to just be completely sober. If you keep on giving yourself a taste of drinking, you're not like you're going to keep on having that feeling of like, man, I miss that. I kind of want to drink again. Whereas if you just stay sober, the last time you drank would have been like years ago or something. And so you don't even like at that point you don't even think about it anymore. Like even what like it tastes like or what the experience was. And I don't know. I mean, it's definitely the hardest thing to do, but it's basically like going cold turkey or something. But I just thought that was interesting. That is the Cinnabons.
The Cinnabon Delights.
I see how you got there.
And Seth gained like he had the Cinnabons, and he kind of had that thought like, man, those Cinnabons are really good. I'm gonna eat this entire chocolate bar right now, and so it just goes back.
But I don't keep any more treats in my house. Can't trust myself. I'd be munching.
I fall to temptations.
I
When
like
it comes
have
to food, it's bad for me.
dude, I buy cornbread sometimes for my chili, and sometimes I catch myself waking up in the middle of the night and going and eating a thing of cornbread, a whole like just go back to sleep. Why do you don't need the cornbread? Like what's wrong with you?
Wait. So you're already asleep, and then you wake up, and then you get out of your bed,
And I'm
go
like,
to your
man,
fridge,
some
just get
cornbread would have hit right now, bro.
Why don't
Yeah,
you? Dude, that's so
for-
much work.
yeah.
Like it's so much easier to just go back to sleep.
No, bro gets up in the middle of the night, gets out, walks to the container, pops it open, cuts out his little cornbread.
I have to get a knife to cut out a piece too. It's literally such a pain, and I
Bro,
do it anyways.
Now you have a knife you gotta wash, at least
Yeah,
run it through
true.
some water.
Literally,
bro, because if you don't wash it right then and there, then it's gonna go all sticky. It's gonna like
I know
harden.
it's gonna be gross.
But that reminds me of, like a
Getting
stereotypical
cornbread, might as
dad.
well get some of that chili out too. If
No,
I get
no,
the
I have
chili out.
I haven't fallen to that temptation yet. If I do,
We
I
gotta
will
get
let
some
you guys
help. We need
know.
an intervention.
Yeah, because I do. I need you guys to intervene if that happens.
Dude, I kind of feel a little bit at fault for bringing the cornbread to the potluck now.
It is. It is. You put this stink on me, bro. Like I'm literally addicted. Like I was thinking about it today. I was thinking about thanking you actually before the episode because I just had some chili and cornbread and I was like, man, he really changed my life. And I'm thinking about it not
It
necessarily
ruined
for the
it, bro. It
better.
ruined your life.
It is a dangerous combo, dude. It is a dangerous combo.
Dude, cornbread and chili does go hard though. I mean, like,
It's
it's
so
so good.
good.
Bro, you're
Dude,
making
it's
me want some right now.
It
It's
is
so
literally like
good,
burger and
bro.
fries, dude. It's you can't have one without the other once you have it.
I know. I completely switch. I don't need the Fritos or the premium mini. Like I can't. I need it.
He can't control
I
himself.
need it. I literally can't. I literally come in the middle of the night craving it. I'm like,
Seth has
got a
like
problem,
nightmares
bro.
about like or dreams of like cornbread. Cornbread.
Dude,
He wakes
I will
up and then
say-
calls him to the kitchen.
No, this is actually an issue that I've discovered with like making chili. Is like after like the chili's made and everything, you have your chili and cornbread that night. The first thing that is gone out of that fridge or out of like the kitchen is the cornbread, without a doubt.
The
That is the
cornbread.
first thing that goes. Chili will remain
Yes.
in that fridge.
Yes. Oh man. But it's okay because I'm not striving to be better. I'm just striving to be consistent. And if the term wise man can be applied to the man who lives with what he has without speculating on what he has not, then I am a wise man.
Oh, what a
What
segue.
page was that?
91. 91.
So good.
I think that's completely
MVP with the
derailed us.
segues today.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got us down this journey. I had to bring us back, get us out of the forest.
Actually, I highlighted right after that line. So, one of them, a conqueror, but in the realm of a mind, a Don Juan, but of knowledge, an actor, but of the intelligence, knows this better than anyone. You nowise deserve a privilege on earth and in heaven for having brought to perfection your dear little meek sheep. You nonetheless continue to be, at best, a ridiculous dear little sheep with horns and nothing more, even supporting that you do not burst with vanity and do not create a scandal by posing as a judge. So I honestly have no idea what that quote meant.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Me
I was
neither.
lost. So,
But I did like those. I did like the before the quote when he like relates each of the examples, but like in a good way to like with the mind.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna real fast. I did highlight that part because I couldn't, for me, really find a clear connection between what he said with Don Juan with knowledge, so and so with blah blah blah. I already lost the quote right here. Don Juan, both of knowledge, an actor, but of the intelligence, and
A
what
conqueror,
is the
but
conqueror,
in the
but
realm
in the
of
realm. Yeah, that one, like I read it and had to reread it a couple times, and I can't say I really fully get the idea there.
I definitely also thought about this one a lot, and I think I understand it. This is my idea. A conqueror, but in the realm of mind. So like someone who goes all or nothing. Like they're not complacent in the mind. They're not lazy. They're actively
They're not
using their mind.
contemplating.
Yeah, they're actively using their mind and trying to think of new things, as well as just make their mind better. Like meditation, for example, I think is a good way to make the mind better. So like just like I actively becoming like transcending or like becoming a better, transcended form of mind in a sense, conquering the mind, and then Don Juan, but of knowledge for me. So like how Don Juan was like jumping and jumping and jumping. knowledge you build up, right? Knowledge is something that you gain over time by learning multiple things. So like a Don Juan, from like learning this one thing,
Oh
then
wait,
jumping
no,
to
that
this
is
next thing,
so.
then jumping
You
to this next thing,
desire more
jumping to this next thing.
knowledge.
Like curiosity, in a sense, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
then
great.
an actor, but of the intelligence. So for me, what I thought about, so intelligence is kind of like, in my opinion, something that you're just kind of like able to dive right in and like pick up, like you have an intuition in a sense. And so the actor lives and dies. They play roles, right? And so like to be able to jump into any conversation with your intelligence, like for example, talking about plants. You have the intelligence to kind of pick up what people are saying, ask good questions, and learn. And so you're living this role of someone who can talk about plants. And then like lamps, you have intelligence to be able to understand, to a certain extent, maybe how lamps work. This light turns on through electricity, blah blah blah. And you can just talk about it, and then so on and so forth with whatever. And so that's how I thought of each three.
Okay, I really like that. I really like your Don Juan
Yeah, I thought that was my. I thought that was
analysis
my
of
Yeah,
that. I
it was pretty
really
good.
like that
Yeah,
because it kind of goes
Thank you,
back to
Connor.
what I read earlier. It said the more one loves, or the more one loves, the stronger the absurd grows. He learned, he built knowledge on what worked and his patterns, and I mean, he's called the ultimate seducer, so he learned a thing or two about seducing. The knowledge aspect that is
That
okay.
guy was full of streets, and he's got that street knowledge for sure.
nice, nice. Speaking of street knowledge, I don't know about you guys, but I underline that passage because I think the Don Juan of knowledge is a bar that's going into my next mixtape for sure.
That is a fucking
That
bar.
is an absolute bar.
That's hard. That's sick.
Who translated this shit? Did he know he was cooking?
That's
Judson O'Brien. We gotta ask him. Guest visit on next podcast, all right?
Yeah. We'll start doing guesses there.
Dig up his grave.
hmm
No, but
Well-
I do think, to kind of like carry this to its natural end, I do think that those things are kind of a hint as to what his whole point here is. And it's the idea that, just use that brain to just, I don't know, man, be curious, and then use all that curiosity, that knowledge, everything, and to your goal and what you want to accomplish in life. Really try to think about things and then how you can accomplish your own goals.
I'm having some ideas of what his spin on the absurd creator, the most absurd character, the creator, is going to be. Because I don't know. I'm wondering how much it'll tie into religion, but also I have my own thoughts of. Obviously, I have my own beliefs of how I think everything is in the universe, as anybody does. Um, and something about that I think may fall. I don't know if y'all have ever heard the egg theory. Something about that to me, might be coming out in here. Maybe not though.
I think he's just going to tell us to, attack your thing full force and, try to create something in the world. Try to just do something. Live. Freaking stop being a lazy bum sitting on your couch all day.
Be a
and just-
creator.
Yeah, dude, do something. This is the only chance you got.
The
Use that
absurdity.
brain. You have, like, brains are our most powerful thing. Train that, use it, and do your thing, man.
In this meaninglessness, you still find the you can still create something in this meaningless world, in this absurd world, as Albert Camus says.
I'll drop this.
That is quite absurd, creating something, and you know that everything is absurd and meaningless, yet you're still putting time and effort into creating something that one could say is also absurd and meaningless.
I'll drop this one hint, all right? So I think my brother-in-law Jim said it best because he's also read this book, and I think you were there talking about it with me and Jim.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh
or,
no.
and you too, Seth.
Was that at the birthday party?
I think it was brought up at the birthday party, but literally, the whole premise of this book could be done in like 3 paragraphs. I'm not gonna lie. But that being said, I do enjoy whenever people talk more about a subject than is necessary because I like to hear like different perspectives, point of views, all that good stuff. Uh, uh, but he has been dropping hints about the whole point of the book subtly throughout the whole book too. So I mean,
Okay.
the answer is in there. Don't worry, and it'll be fun to see y'all's reactions.
Yeah. Yeah, post in the comments
Connor.
what you think the last chapter is going to be about. No spoilers.
Yeah, don't spoil it. Well, yeah, just say what you think. Don't read ahead and then say what it is. But Connor, I am curious. Is the point? Because I know what the myth is. I know what the myth of Sisyphus. I know all that like meaning and everything behind that. Is that the same thing as his point in his final chapter, or is it just another example?
Like, is there a reason it's called the Myth of Sisyphus?
Or is that kind of given
Is that
away
just a
too
title,
much?
or is that an important part of the idea?
There's a reason why it's called the Myth of Sisyphus. It can be tied in.
Okay.
I mean, just from what you guys have read so far, you can, if you know the story
Yeah.
of the Myth of Sisyphus, you can kind of see the
I'm kind of see
parallel.
where it's going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it definitely it ties in. It ties in. There is a reason for the Myth of Sisyphus.
All right.
Ooh, I'm ready to push my boulder, boys. I'm gonna be pushing that boulder all the way till it drops down and push it back up again.
For all eternity, baby.
David and his boulder.
Me and my boulder.
All right. Well,
That's a
I
nice
think
All right, boys.
that calls it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, great episode. It was a
It's another
pleasure
banger.
having a book club.
Yep. We'll see you next week.
I really enjoyed this
Yeah.
one. Yep. See
That one's
y'all.
that's one to put Howie in a difficult spot with the editing schedule. Committing to.
See y'all.
We're gonna
See y'all in
overpromise.
2 weeks.
Overpromise.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. Oh,
We're,
2
we're-
weeks.
We're doing
now.
every other week right now. All right, that is what I have said. But yeah, no, we'll see y'all soon.
Yeah, we can get the logistics out later.
Yeah, all have a good day.
That's for our conqueror to figure out.
Yeah.
Logistics.
Remember to keep
very
in mind the
own
absurd,
conqueror.
people. All right. See y'all.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you for joining the book club today. If you want to support us, please leave us a review on wherever you listen to your podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating too. That'd be very helpful. On YouTube, like, subscribe on all those different platforms. Feel free to leave a comment. That would be also amazing. We are also now Amazon Associates, which means that if you go to the description of wherever you listen to our episode, you'll be able to find some Amazon affiliate links to get the book that we talk about. Or if we're spinning the wheel, we're getting our next book, you also see a link for the next book that we are going to be reading. Simply click on that link, buy the book, and we'll get a small margin of the proceeds for no additional cost to you. So it's a great way. If you're going to get the book anyways, we'd really appreciate it if you would use our link to get it, because then we get a small portion of the proceeds. You get your book, so you can read along with us. And even if not, you should get the book that we're reading, because we can't cover the entire like portion of the book that we talk about in an hour and a half. There's so much to talk about. And there's so much content in the book that really you should get the book regardless, if you use the link or not. It's honestly an investment to yourself, because you're able to look and read the stuff that we're reading and get your own perspective on it. And you also get to annotate it yourself, so you can kind of come back to it like a few years later, see how your perspectives change. Um, maybe remind yourself some lessons you learned too. So just having a book in general is also a great idea. But anyways, again, thank you for listening to Book Club. Have a great rest of your day.